also my first time telling a story. Thank you. And so it's a PG-13 story. My word is stuck also, and the other word that rhymes with, you know, luck never happened in this story. And also, my daughter's in the audience. I have a type, and my type would be tall, dark, and handsome, but my ex-husband or none of my boyfriends have ever, you know, been this type. I did have a boyfriend who was tall once, but that's about it. And so anyhow, I met him towards the end of 1996 by placing a personal ad in the newspaper. I was looking for someone to spend my 25th birthday with. If anybody's doing the math, it makes me 44 now. So anyhow, in the beginning of 1997, there were a few new things going on in my life. There was this relationship that I was in, but also I'd started a job at a trading firm as the receptionist. And so as the receptionist, I got to see everyone when they first came into work in the morning. And so there I was when, you know, he walked in, Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome. He was the, you know, a physical embodiment, he was the embodiment of my physical ideal. So, yeah, I had to know who he was. I asked around, found out that Mr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome was actually Dr. Tall, Dark, and Handsome. So anyhow, yeah, at this trading firm, they wanted to have an atmosphere, you know, being like fun and relaxed. So it wasn't the, you know, the Wolf of Wall Street or anything, but there were company-sponsored parties, and we were invited to bring our significant others, and so I always brought my boyfriend with me. So therefore, you know, this other guy knew I was with someone. But I'm sure he like picked up the vibe that I found him, you know, attractive, and if, you know, he didn't pick it up from me, someone else had told him. So let's fast forward a couple of years, and, you know, my boyfriend and I had broken up. Word got out at the office, and soon, you know, the doctor and I were emailing each other. And one day he asked if I wanted to do something. So what we had decided is that he was going to call me on a Sunday morning, and we were going to decide what we were going to do that afternoon. And so when Sunday came around, I felt awful. You know, my head was killing me. I was lethargic. So when he called, I told him, like, you know, sorry, I can't go out. I ended up going to the ER. When I got there, I found out that I had a fever of 104. The doctor looked at, you know, my blood work. My white blood cells were okay. He decided he didn't feel he needed to spinal tap me. But because I had described my headache as the worst headache I'd ever had in my life, he did want to do a CT of my head. So instead of going out with the doctor that day, I was ruled out for stroke and meningitis. We did eventually, you know, start to go out. We'd go out to dinner. We'd go, you know, to movies. We was at an opera at Haverford College, and so that's when I started to realize how, you know, cold and distant he could be. You know, for example, you know, we could fall asleep, you know, until the next morning in a twin-size pull-out bed at my place, but at his place he could only fall asleep in a California King by himself. So anyhow, one day he tells me he's moving to Chicago to start a trading firm of his own. I told him I miss him, but, you know, to me anyhow, that was pretty much goodbye. One day I went to my local library, and when I went to check out my book, the librarian said to me, "So you're Damali Dixon?" And I'm like, "Yeah, why?" And she told me that earlier that day, someone who identified himself as the doctor had called the library to see if they had a copy of the local white pages, and if my you know, if my phone number was in it, would they give it to him? So actually, he hadn't sold his condo in this area, and, you know, over the next couple of years, he traveled back and forth to Philadelphia. And we continued to go out and to hang out. However, he also remained, you know, cold and distant. For example, when it came to, you know, my 30th birthday, you know, we saw each other the day before, but, you know, he couldn't make the party. So eventually, the condo sold. When he traveled back and forth, he'd stay in hotels, and then it just kind of like dwindled down to phone calls. You know, during this time, I went back to school. I earned a graduate degree of my own, not doctor, but a graduate degree of my own. And soon the phone calls, you know, just kind of started to dwindle down, and even I, you know, stopped returning the calls, or just, you know, like, well, stopped answering the calls and didn't, you know, return the messages, and I just, you know, realized I was no longer stuck on them. So.